Fleas are going away, Myron, aren't they? They're going away. Yeah, I'm part of the flea-free family. Trimming us too. I got 8 more cats to do. Gotta check for fleas, check their ears, claws. Well, he don't have no claws. Ears, claws, fleas, eyes. Okay, so this morning, trying to get back on the 5 a.m. to 1:30 sleep shift. But I went to bed at 4:30 and then woke up by 10, so I went ahead and watched Price is Right. And then I went back to sleep at 11:15. So then I got something pretty good. But the thing is, at the end, I have a feeling the experience was probably almost over with, but it still kind of pisses me off. I had my rubber earplugs in, but I think they're getting kind of old, and I could still hear the swamp cooler. Patty ran in the room when I went to the bathroom, like at 11 or something. No, not 11. Or something like that. Yeah, she ran in, but she was hanging out on the swamp cooler, and then so when I was having my awesome OBE lucid dream, I heard a noise, like, because they're always like jumping off of the swamp cooler, and then it's always bouncing back, hitting the wall or whatever. And so then it jarred me out of my freaking experience. But it didn't make me too mad, because I have a feeling that maybe it was almost over with anyway. But see, I don't know, and I'll never freaking know. We'll see, and I don't let the cats in my room anymore when I sleep. Sometimes I'll let Tango does good all night sometimes. Simba, Patty sometimes. Danielle does really good all night. But yeah, I just can't have them in there. But I need to put some better. I guess I need to go ahead and swap for some other rubber earplugs. I have some more rubber earplugs. So let's see here. Okay, so let's see. So on the news before I went to bed, they said something like, like it's gonna be hazy. It's kind of hazy out or something like that. So then when I okay, where's it at? Where's the picture? So when I when the experience first happened, I looked out the window, I mean, or the window of the back door, and so then I walked out there because I thought I saw. I was looking for hungry turtles. I was looking to see if my turtles were out running around, and it was really dark. It wasn't dark outside, but it was cloudy and gloomy. And so I was looking for turtles that are out and hungry, and I thought, oh, that's Diego. And then I realized that wasn't Diego, except he was as small as Diego. It was Damien. And so I went over there, and I was like, oh, at first I thought it was Diego, but it was Damien. And then I realized, I realized there was that a bag of potting soil. And I was like, oh, whoops, I forgot to put this in the trash, because I just recently dumped off my trash in real life on Monday. And but it's actually in the front of the house, that extra soil. in the bag. But in my scenario, it was like there was more in it. It was like heavier and it was up against the back fence. And I was like, oh, whoops, I forgot to take that to the trash on, Monday. And oh yeah, and another thing, like when I was out in my yard and stuff, as far as I remember, I kind of knew that I was in an altered state. As far as I remember, I was kind of conscious of that, and I was like, so when I went outside, I'm like, wow, it feels like the energy feels kind of bad. It feels kind of like dark, the energy or whatever when I was roaming around the backyard. And then that's when I started looking at Damien. I saw Damien, but at first it was kind of like Diego. But then I realized it was Damien, but he was the size of Diego, but in real life, he's a lot wider than Diego. And that's when I noticed, I'm like, oh wow, it's hazy out here. And then I thought, wow, the energy feels dark. And I mean, like not too dark, but sometimes, yeah, like all experiences have different energies to them, just like crop circles. And so I went and looked at Damien, and I noticed I thought he was injured. And then, okay, where's it at? And then then I realized he wasn't injured. Well, he was facing the other direction, but I thought he was injured because his shell was like completely off, and it looked weird, like it wasn't bloody or anything. He didn't have another shell, but it was just, it was just like the meat part, and except he was facing the other direction, and then I was like, oh, he's injured. Like, how did he get injured? And then it's like something was talking to me or something. And then I was like, oh, he's not injured. The shell, it just hinges on. You just put it back on. There's a hole on each side of the shell, right there, and you just put the back shell back on. And I was like, wow, I wonder how come I never realized that before. And I knew it was just odd to begin with that it ever even comes off. So that's why I never had to deal with it with my other turtles. But in Damien's case, it just happened to come off. So I knew I just had to hinge it back on and clip it back on, those two holes. And I know where Joel kind of got that from my vacuum cleaner and stuff, and some other things in my house where, you put the little cap back on and hinge it or whatever. Clip it in, and that vacuum cleaner is one of them, that plastic cap. And I know there's something else that he's getting it from, but I can't remember right off bat. And so then I clipped it back on him, and he was okay and everything. But it was just a normal thing, like it was real life, in the scenario, even though it really wasn't real life. Okay, so then, okay, hold on, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Turtle hinge. So yeah, so when I was watching the news and they said it was real hazy outside, that kind of seeped into this experience. And okay, so then, but I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting any other thoughts and shit that I had. And like I say, it was cloudy. And then, okay, hold on, let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. That potting soil, and it was somehow I knew it was like heavy. I went over there and I was like, oh, it's like 40 pounds or whatever, but I knew I had forgotten to put it in the dumpster, on Monday at my mom's house. Okay, so, but why would I throw that away anyway? I wouldn't throw that away. I would keep it, Okay, so, Like I say, in real life, I have a small bag. There's probably about 6 or 7 pounds still in there of potting soil. Okay, so now I'm getting to the good part. Okay, so I start turning around facing, I'm at the back of the fence, but I'm looking at, and in this scenario, you know, my backyard seemed to be about 3 times bigger. Okay, so I turned back around facing west, and I started looking at these windows, my bedroom windows. But it was it was, you know, like windows, but it had all these vertical panels of plastic, what's it called? Blinds, you know, because I used to always have those in my apartments that I rented. So they started moving. They started moving, you know, in real life. See, I don't have vertical white. They were white. And so like I say, so after the ordeal with the turtle and Damien, like I say, I just happened to turn around and I saw movement, you know, and I'm like, wow. Because what the deal was, whenever you opened up the garage door, whenever anybody opened up the garage door, now this was under the scenario, not in real life, but in the scenario, it felt like real life. Okay, so I started seeing the move, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Why there shouldn't be anybody opening up my garage door? You know, it was just like vibrations whenever whenever I would open up the garage door, or anybody else, my mom or whatever, there would be vibrations with the back of the house, and it would make the blinds move, the vertical white, you know, long panel blinds. And like I said, I used to always have those in my apartments. Well, hi, Mobula. Okay, so then I go to I look outside. I go to the front of the house and I look outside the front window, and I see, no, the AI robot didn't make it exactly right, but when I explained it to her, but it's good enough. So basically and first of all, I told her to put 6 cars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looked like she put like 8 cars, but so, and of course it wasn't facing like that, but, so I go, to the front of the house, and I look out the window, and because, you know, the front of the house is facing that way, and my driveway is facing that way, and I see 6 cars lined up, like bam, 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 just all, not 2 rows, just 1 row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 cars, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I see this guy over at my little panel. He was, you know, screwing with it, and he somehow raised my garage door. My garage door was completely raised. And I'm like, what are all these people doing here? So I go over there and I like talk to that guy and stuff. And I'm like, how'd you get my garage door up? You shouldn't have my code. And he said something like, well, it's public knowledge. Anybody could learn how to raise a garage door or something like that. And I'm like, you're full of shit. I'm like, you have to have a code to get into my garage. And so I kept being all belligerent and yelling at him and blah, 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 blah. And then there's like 8 other women there may have been 1 other man in the bunch, but it was mainly like 8 other women standing around in my garage. And in the scenario, you know, it seemed like my garage was at least twice as big. And now I don't know where my car was. I didn't see my car in the garage or outside of the house. But I've been having it outside in real life for, you know, several days now outside the garage. But anyway, that's in real life. But and they all had like what are they called? You know, the notepads, you know, the note boards, you know, and like pens in their hands and stuff. And so, so I was just being like really belligerent, like, you need to get the hell out of my house, and off my damn, property and blah, 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 blah. And, and they were all just like, la, 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 like acting like, yeah, like acting like, oh, we could be here if we want to, like it was okay to just, figure out how to lift my garage door up and come into my garage, and this isn't the first damn time that Joel's given me experiences like this. But I was belligerent for a long time, to him, not to the women, but him, because he was the one, denying that he didn't like put my code in and everything. And so I was trying to argue with him. I'm like, yes, you did. You somehow got my code and put it in. But he was trying to argue with me like he got the information off the internet or something like that on how to lift the garage door up, how to lift somebody's garage door up. And so as far as I remember, basically, they were just, they were kind of like, I don't know, just kind of like real estate people, appraisers, something like that. And, but like I say, for a long time, it went on a long time. I was just walking around being belligerent to him. And a couple of times, he kind of snapped back a couple of times too, as far as I remember. But that lasted a long time, me being belligerent. And then eventually I was like, I'm going to call the cops and get your asses, off my property. And, and then I heard a boom and it snapped me out of the fucking experience because Patty got on my swamp cooler and they leap off of it and like bloom, 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 bloom. And then it hits the back of the closet or whatever. And it jarred me out of the experience. But yeah, so it kind of pisses me off because it could have went on for 5 more minutes and there could have been, 5 more scenes in that 5 minutes. But I kind of have a feeling that maybe it was almost over with, but I really do not know. But it was fun. And I know I had some other experiences probably, because I went to bed at 4:30. I know I probably had some other cool dreams and stuff, but I always have the best one, like when you break the sleep cycle. So if you sleep for 4 or 5 hours, you're not going to remember much of that because you're in like a deeper sleep, but then you want to sleep a couple more because you only slept 5 hours. So then you go pee-pee or whatever, and then you go back to bed. And then that's when you have your best one. And then that's when you always remember it. And Coast to Coast was even talking about that. And that's how I used to, back for several years, back 20 years ago, I just kept shooting off out of body, flying. And, but now I realize that aliens were giving me that ability. And now it's just more, I'm getting all these, I want to go back to doing that again. I'll try to communicate to them and see if I could get that again. But I still love all of these OBE, VR, lucid dreams and everything. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how I kind of felt the dark energy. I'm like, why does the energy feel kind of dark? Like maybe like I didn't really know I was in an altered state quite, or at least not 100%. And then, like I say, it was fuzzy. What do you call it? It was hazy. It was hazy outside, and that went into the scenario because they just said that on the news that it was kind of hazy. Because I watched like the 12 o'clock news or something like that. But I didn't go to bed till 4:30. But yeah, so now I'll never know if there was going to be a couple more parts to that scenario. But like I say, I do feel like maybe it was almost over with. But it was a fun experience. But the hinge thing was just bizarre. That was just bizarre. It's just a normal thing how they were created. that they come off and you can put it back on, they come off, put it back on. But it's just that in the scenario, most people never tampered with them like that. And in the scenario, in real life, normally they never did come off, or it was rare when they did come off. In this situation, you know, it just happened to come off of Damien. And then I had to clip it back on. You know, it had 2 holes and I had to clip it back on. That was just bizarre. Yeah, and like I say, when it was off of him, it looked kind of weird. His, you know, the shell underneath it looked a little weird. Like, kind of slanted down. Like you could just see like the meat part or the muscle or whatever. And I noticed it slanted down a little bit. Well, I guess that makes sense because maybe their shell was kind of at an angle or whatever. But it was bizarre. But like I say, I'll never know if there was going to be any more parts of that scenario or not. Thanks for listening.